I'm thrilled today to be joined by Keith Kressin, CEO of MemryX. Keith, you and I have known each other for quite some times and have bumped into each other at quite a number of conferences. And so I this has been a long time coming, and to be able to give our audience the opportunity to get a little bit of a backstage pass at some of our conversations that we have should be a bit as big of a treat to them as it's been to me over the years. So very excited. I always leave our conversations both energized, enthused, and a little bit contemplative. So, with that being said, a decades long career, and I would fail to do it justice by just highlighting the things that impress me. Would you mind, for those people who may not be as familiar, just giving a quick background of you and your work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I started my career in engineering. I did both software and hardware engineering at Texas Instruments, which, ironically, for us guys that have decades of experience, is where a lot of us started and got a good technical background. I then went to Intel in the late 90s. I joined right after Andy Grove was on the cover of Time magazine and thought that would be a good company to join. Interesting where Intel is at these days and how they've changed over the years. But it was a great learning experience at Intel. I led some efforts on chipsets and getting Wi-Fi into laptops and integrating graphics into the first chipsets. And there's a small company at the time named NVIDIA that we thought wouldn't survive after we integrated graphics. So that was a great experience. Then, after Intel seemed like they had little interest in supporting this device that no one believed in called a smartphone, I migrated from Intel to a company called Qualcomm. And Qualcomm provides about half the chips for cell phones in the world. And, we ship 500 million a year and had a great experience at Qualcomm in a number of different aspects and product management strategy, GM, and great time there with Cristiano and the wonderful team in San Diego at Qualcomm. And then about 3 years ago, I knew that if there was any technology I wanted to dive deeper in, it would be AI. And at Qualcomm, I led kind of roadmap planning and all the application processor technologies. And it was very clear that AI was going to be the dominant tech for a while to come. So I joined a company called MemryX. So I moved from Qualcomm of 50,000 people to a company of about 20 people, roughly 3 years ago. And I've been there since. And MemryX is all about AI, and I've had a chance to dive deep, and we've made a lot of progress.
Absolutely, and we'll get more into Memory X, but I want to actually back up. So you started out talking about being in both hardware, software engineering, and this is one of my favorite questions to ask executives because most executives I talk to are engineers at heart. When was that moment in your life where you knew you wanted to become an engineer?
Actually, I think I was in a freshman in high school, and I grew up in Wisconsin. We lived way out in the country. It was mostly all blue collar. My dad drove a truck. The neighbor was a mailman. The other neighbor was a factory worker. This sort of environment, and we actually visited Disney World for the first time, and there was a ride called General Motors Wheels of Motion, and they had all this backdrop of vehicles and the design of the vehicles and airflow and efficiency and how the engine worked. And I said, who designs all this stuff here? Like, what career do they have? I said, oh, these are all engineers. I was only 12 years old at the time, and I said, so engineers do all of this? And they said, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I want to be an engineer. So that's when I was 12. Yeah.
That is one of the more creative answers I've ever heard. So very cool. And you went on to get your MBA and went into sales and marketing and business leadership. How has coming from being an engineer at heart served as a superpower for you throughout your career?
Yeah, so before my MBA, I had a lot of technical experience. And when I entered the MBA program, there was a set of people that wanted a complete career change. And that's why they got their MBA, because they wanted to do something very different. They worked at a hospital, they were doctors, and they wanted to now work on Wall Street, right? Or something very different. And I always loved engineering. I always loved technology. I always loved math and science. And so I didn't want to change. I wanted to build. And when I was an engineer, honestly, I got frustrated at some of the management, even as a very young engineer. And the managers had MBAs. So I thought, well, you know what? I really am on the engineering side, but I'll get my MBA, become a manager, and work with those guys. That was kind of the mindset. So it was going to Intel, they loved having someone with a technical degree, master's in engineering and a design background as a product manager. So I never went into pure sales, but product definition, product management, this sort of thing. You really needed to understand the technology, I think, to be successful in that role, and so it served me very well.
Absolutely. And now let's jump into MemryX. For those that are unfamiliar with MemryX, can you give us a little bit of a look behind the curtain and tell us about what you guys are building?
Yeah, absolutely. So, MemryX was founded in 2019, so about six years ago, and it was a spin out of University of Michigan, founded by a couple of professors there. And the whole idea was, let's build a much more efficient AI processor. So the idea that AI workloads deserve an AI processor, just like graphics workloads deserve a graphics processor. So the team built some demos, some prototypes, and I joined about 3 years in, where they had working prototypes, and my goal was to be able to enter production. And so I came in. I had a lot of experience from Qualcomm. The team at Michigan had really no experience in bringing a product to market. And so it took a little while to take what they had, but they had a great foundation. Take what they had and turn it into a real product. Product in terms of the right interfaces and temp specs and quality, and the right internal specs to support accelerating edge AI workloads. So, and that's what we've done at MemryX. We entered production Q4 last year. So production quality as measured by a lot of folks with a lot of silicon experience and software experience. And we're getting ready to ramp that chip here in the near term.
That is awesome. And as you know, the AI sector is having a little bit of a seismic shift from LLMs towards inference. How are MemryX's solutions poised to help customers make that transition?
So at a really high level, if you had like a vertical stack of AI processing, you could go from the very lowest end, very power centric. Maybe you have an AI processor that attaches directly to an image sensor or something where milliwatts matter. At the high end, obviously you can do AI training or very advanced AI inference. The latest chat bots and so forth. VLMs. Most advanced transformer models and so forth. And then in the middle, you have the edge. And the edge, is defined as, AI that's running. So AI inference, not AI training, on a local device. And, or it could even be like a server, in the back room, but not something that's going to the large cloud. And so that's what MemryX does. We designed an AI accelerator specifically for inference that runs in like single digit watts and can perform a very, very efficient AI inference. And as you know, those workloads are changing very quickly. We're mostly focused on vision-centric applications, and then our next generation will expand to do a lot of more advanced reasoning type models.
Well, and that's one of the things that had me most excited in our most recent discussion is you talked about that it's so easy for companies to fall into the trap of trying to be everything to everyone, to be all things to all customers. But MemryX isn't doing that. You have a laser focus on a specific niche. You brought up the memory applications. Are there any specific areas within that you would drill down even further into that you're focused on?
Yeah, so we're really focused on efficient processing of streaming inputs, mostly visual perception, classical computer vision. And that's really, if you look at where people are buying today, ignoring, they're buying a bunch of NVIDIA GPUs, right, for large cloud players, and the large cloud guys are developing their own silicon. But on the edge, if you're in a factory, or you're doing a video management system, or you're doing certain robotics applications. These are all using more classic AI, perception, computer vision centric If you drill down a little bit further, think that there's a lot of cameras in the world today. A lot of cameras that are dumb, basically. They just take the photons in and process them, and that's it. And what happens is there's hundreds of thousands, millions of cameras where the data every day goes into storage for legal reasons, or if there's a theft or there's some other problem, people look at the after the fact. Bring up the recording, but everybody wants to use those cameras to take action. You don't want to look at the recording after someone walks into a school, or there's a safety situation at a factory, or whatever that at retails, there's theft or something like that. You want to take action immediately. And so what you want to do is you want to take those video recordings and perform AI on that in real time, very efficiently at the source, so you're not sending video streams into the cloud. And that's what we do. That's what we focus on. So we're a data flow architecture designed for streaming inputs. And so any camera or group of cameras, we can process AI algos extremely efficiently.
Super exciting, for on a number of fronts, and I'm going to keep pushing until you say I can't say anymore. Are there one or two deployments that you've seen that you and your team have implemented that you're most excited about?
The public announcements come later this year, but I will say there's some factory applications where you don't need humans. You're migrating to AI based like defect detection for quality levels. That certainly adds a lot of value. There's a numerous applications where you take a series of cameras that we're processing, and a customer may have used multiple GPUs before. And we can take a system that has, for example, six mainstream GPUs that are each using about 100 watts each, and replace that with a single PCI Express card that have a couple of our little M.2 accelerators that runs at about 30 watts. So we can basically, versus the GPU, we're basically a 10x power improvement, at the same time providing 2x performance improvement, and the whole system cost comes down. You don't need, to provide a kilowatt power supply or a $50,000, rack that can support multiple GPUs. We can all do that. So it's a big transition. We have industrial applications where someone can't run AI because they have a small system. It has to be enclosed. It has to be passively cooled. It can't take a GPU, and they can't process the AI they need on the CPU. It's always running AI. It kills the CPU. Now they can just plug in our little M.2, and they basically can add AI to a legacy factory PC. And so there's a bunch of applications where it's either first time AI, or you're taking smart inputs or dumb inputs, turning them into smart inputs. Um, there's a lot of applications where you're basically making vision smart, and you're able to do it very efficiently and very easily. Actually, that's one of the big value propositions we have.
Absolutely. So I won't push anymore. I'll zoom out a little bit, and make it easier for you to talk. Because in a prior conversation, we also talked about full stack solutions, and it being both a blessing and a curse to be able to support customers with tailored solutions. Because then often they'll ask for more and more and more. What's MemryX's approach?
So we don't do the end AI model. We partner with others, and so there's a number of providers that are specialists in security, or retail, or factories, or defect detection, whatever the case may be. So there's a very broad ecosystem we partner with, and so at the very top layer, it's basically a partnership with us with dozens of different software companies. And what we try and do is make it such that their algorithms can run on our hardware quickly, easily, no changes on their part, high accuracy. They can get up and running extremely quickly. And so what I didn't realize when I first joined is the gap between running models efficiently and integrating into a high level software stack. There's more than just one or two layers in order to do that. And I think a lot of AI startups, they focus on, hey, what performance can I get? What latency can I get? I have it up and running, I'm done. And then you realize, well, you have to support a lot more models. Okay, we can support thousands of models automatically. Okay, I'm done. Well, we have to add APIs. Well, there's more than that. And so basically we have the foundation, which is awesome. And then we've just kind of slowly built up the stack until we can connect to these ISV pieces.
Got it. So, if we're to zoom out even further, just you personally, what are some macro trends that you, or even a micro trend that you're seeing within the AI space, looking around the corner 12, 24 months from now that maybe other executives are missing?
Okay, that's a tough one. Yeah, because the AI space is definitely a big one. But I'll say, right now, where's the money in ramp? I think it's in honestly more legacy systems and legacy models, that sometimes someone's so anxious to move to the next game, they miss the current opportunity. But there's a big current opportunity with like I said, hundreds of thousands or millions of cameras, efficient processing. So we don't want to get distracted, for example, let's say with just go chase generative AI, then go chase agents, then go chase physical AI because the market's moving so quickly. But we're focused, right, laser focused on solving the problem at hand. But what's next? To your question, if someone just focused on generative and did an optimization of generative, they would be behind already because by the time you make a silicon decision to focus on something, AI's moved on to the next thing. And so you actually need to shoot ahead, of course. And we have a data flow architecture that's really good for streaming, streaming inputs. And if you look at a lot of transformer or generative AI or even agents now, the user puts in an input, and then you calculate one token at a time. And the computing system really isn't stressed. The only thing that's stressed is the memory subsystem. And then you get an output, and if I go to Perplexity or use ChatGPT or something, I type in a query, it generates one token at a time, and I get my output it comes out about as fast as I can read. Obviously, the newer systems come out faster. But what's going to happen is it's not going to be you and I entering queries. It's going to be the machine coming up with an answer and coming up with its own query and feeding the query back into the loop. And so what you really need to have is an architecture that isn't focused on just, token generation based on user input, but you need to have a highly pipelined system that's going to be prepared for reasoning models that are constantly running in the background, constantly. And it's the machine feeding itself. So speed isn't going to be about how fast we can read or anything like that. Speed is going to be a matter of how fast the system can produce tokens and queries itself. And so pipeline speed is going to be extremely important. And I would say the other thing, and this is kind of giving you maybe too much insight, I think. But right now, the idea is, oh, I can run this in my CPU or GPU, no problem. Let's say on a client system, right? Well, what happens when the machine is always running models in the background, constantly, 24/7? So the machine knows you or knows me, right? It knows, oh, I'm interested in these sorts of trips, and my kid goes to this school and whatever. There's so many queries and insights it can gather about me, always looking at what concert I'm interested in attending, or what discount, or where I can travel, or what's a good car for my son to buy. It's always going to be running. You can't do that in a CPU or a GPU because you're going to bog it down 100% on your client. You need to have a dedicated, discrete accelerator that's running these models 24/7 efficiently. And that's where we're going. So you kind of see where we're at. Just take cameras, do efficient processing and pipeline. But then how do you baseline that architecture to head where the industry's going? And that's what we're in the process of doing.
That sounds like exciting stuff. So uh, I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about all of these hard problems that you and the team there and across the industry are trying to solve. They happen with people. So we got to talk talent. we know that the landscape right now is as fierce as ever and competing for talent. And then you stack that up against going up against giants like Apple and Amazon and Google, and it's a losing battle for most startups. So,
Yeah.
what has MemryX done to differentiate themselves amongst the sea of other hardware startups? And also, are there unique strategies that you guys have taken to attract the best and the brightest?
Yeah, excellent question. Yeah, that definitely is a big issue because you have a very small number of companies getting a very large amount of money from VCs and others, and that's where top talent is attracted to. And you're just not going to compete with someone that's raising billions of dollars and hundreds of billions of market cap after a couple years, if that's what someone wants. If that's what someone wants. And exactly right. So how do you recruit? Well, the company was founded at University of Michigan, and we've kept the headquarters there, and we have a pipeline out of Michigan for really the best talent of people that want to work and stay and live in Michigan. So if I was in the middle of Silicon Valley, it would be more difficult. Or even as it is, we lose, people to very hot, very well-known startups or Google and Microsoft, this sort of thing. Not many. Our attrition is actually amazingly low, given the industry that we're in. So being in Michigan helps. I think culturally, it's very, very collaborative. You have people that want to work with their friends. They want to stay late. They want to see great things happen. They want to see happy customers. And so another one is some people chase technology or chase the most interesting thing, or some people chase money or whatever the case may be, and so that's great. What we want to chase, if you will, are people that want to learn, be in a super collaborative environment. Almost everybody in the U.S. is local, although for specific talent, we do support people working from home remotely. I'm one of them. I work remotely from California. But you just have to find the right, the right talent and the right mindset. But there's a lot of very, very bright folks out there. I must say they're biased young, so these is grad students, coming right out of school, for example, or people that have 1 to 2 years experience and say, you know what, I want to work in a collaborative startup with friends. I want to all work together as one team. I want to be co-located. I don't want to work in too big of a company, and I want to make a difference, and I want to learn AI, and I want to work on cutting edge stuff. And we can find really good talent to do that.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned collaboration is one thing. If there was one other thing from a culture standpoint at MemryX that might surprise an outsider to learn, what would that be?
It's funny. Some people think experience is extremely important, right? And our philosophy is to put people into new situations situations they've never been in before. And people take on responsibility and grow and learn and are creative much more in environments where they've never done it before. And so, I won't go into detail, but we've taken, very bright grad students who just joined us a month. And all of a sudden, they're working on some really compelling product projects internally on their own. And it is amazing what using the power of AI from other sources, because we use AI internally a lot, for writing codes or or test programs or whatever the case may be. But some projects you give to a very, very entrepreneurial minded, hardworking, excited recent grad student, and it is amazing the output that you can get. And so some companies focus on someone that has experience or mentorship, and we mentor others, but we really like to take people that are very bright and excited about new opportunities and give them that opportunity, and let them lead it, or let them be the sole person, or let them be on a small 2 or 3 person team to get it done. And it's like, how do you get to production without raising a lot of money? We've raised less than $50 million with a leading edge AI chip that's as robust as anything an Intel or Qualcomm would ship, with a full software stack. Like, how do you do that with 50 people? You only do it with a combination of talent and structure and using the quickly evolving tools that are now available to companies to be more efficient.
Wow. So, and as you were talking, one of the things that came to mind is that you're really building a company by building people. And that should be a virtuous cycle too, because those people will have loyalty to MemryX because you invested in them and believed in them to do things that other companies would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, someone will really. What we'll do is we'll bring in a handful of interns every summer, and just about all of them want to come back and work for us full time once they finish grad school. And once they come back, they say, you know what, this person over here was the number one student in my class. Why don't we go hire that person? Or I know this ex-classmate who went and got his PhD at this other school. We should go hire this person. And so, yeah, instead of necessarily, paying a recruiter and chasing people down and so forth, there's nothing better than having, firsthand knowledge and firsthand relationships. We can bring in, very talented people who want to work with, past associates. So yeah, so the talent pool is really important. And then the internal processes that, if we're developing an AI accelerator, we want to use AI as much as possible internally. We want to use AI for generating marketing documents, for sales, for events, for chip layout, for writing code, for doing MemryX examples, for doing regression testing. We use AI for all of this. That's how a company with less than 50 people can do what companies with many hundreds of people, have trouble getting done.
This has been absolutely eye opening and really appreciate your time, Keith. If there was an engineer that was passionate and entrepreneurial, didn't need a job, but was curious after hearing this, what might you say to them to get them to join?
Tactically, they can just connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'll do a very quick interview process and bring them in. But the other, I'd say, if there's just a talented engineer out there, the important thing is to decide exactly what do you want. What's important to you. What are the type of people and type of projects and type of company that you want to work with? And I know there's a very large pool of very talented people that would be very happy to work at MemryX.
Awesome. Well, I'll close with this. Is LinkedIn the best way, whether it be an engineer, a potential customer, or an investor? Is LinkedIn the best way for them to contact you?
Well, they can contact me directly. They can contact MemryX directly, or through our website at just MemryX.com. They can reach out and contact us. And just to let you know, through our website, we also have links to our developer hub. They can see all of our code. They can see our architecture. They can see our tools. They can see examples. We have a community site. And so we make it as easy as possible to reach out for people to reach out to us and to work and partner with us.
Well, as always, Keith, really appreciate the time. You're always so gracious with it, and I always leave our conversations energized for what's next for MemoryX. So thank you for the
Thank
time.
you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.